Hi, I'm Lori Fannin, and I will be your yoga teacher for today, or at least for this class. This is being brought to you by Healthy Columbus. And for this class, this will be more of a yin style. So if you're not familiar with yin, if you think of yin-yang, right? Passive-aggressive. And yoga in itself is always yin-yang, right? We're very aggressive in some postures, and we're very passive. Even within a posture, we can be passive in it. But yin by itself is really taking a very passive approach, which doesn't necessarily mean it's easy, because we're in some postures to stretch out for longer than usual. So it's easy for the mind to wander, and you wonder, am I ever going to get out of this? But we can, you can always adjust. You're not stuck in the particular posture, and you can't move, right? So you move around and just get the body adjust. So it's very, very passive. We take a much different approach to it, because I'm not going to talk about the bandhas, the root lock, the belly lock, or chest lifting open, or engaging into your core. It doesn't have that at all. So this is what I mean by it's very passive. We're going to let all that go. We're not going to think about it. It's all pretty much seated or on our back. So we might get into a downward facing dog, because it might just feel good to kind of stretch that out a little bit. But to get us into these, we will do like some nice seated warm-ups and getting the spine moving and the body moving a little bit. But other than that, it'll feel like you're not doing much of anything, but you're doing some really great work for your the deeper tissues. So we think of just our muscles. This is going deeper than the muscles. This is the ligaments that are connecting the joints, right? So getting all that fluid juicy again, because that's what keeps us moving, and that's what keeps us healthy. So as far as props, if you've got a couple blocks, definitely there'll be opportunity to use them, because if you're feeling really stiff, it will probably help you to ease into some of these postures. So that said, we will get ourselves started. So we're going to start seated in a comfortable seat. Now, because we will be doing a bit of sitting, I should have brought this up earlier about the props. If you do have a pillow or a blanket, if you find just sitting on directly your sit bones to the mat isn't very comfortable, you just want to sit on something that just gives you that little 2 inches or so of height. Don't sit on a block, because that gives you too much height. And you want something soft, because we're going to be seated for a while, so you want your butt to feel comfortable. So if you do have a pillow, grab it, or a blanket, grab it. All right, so we're going to come seated. So simple cross-legged position. If you're more into tucking the feet underneath, that's great. If you're comfortable just kind of folding it in as I am, that's fine as well. But you want to settle into your sit bones. As always, as we start our practice, we want to set our intention for the practice. So we're going to settle into our sit bones. We're going to lift the heart, roll the shoulders back. And this is about as much engagement that we're going to have in this yin practice today. Lengthen in the crown of your head. Just focus on your breathing, and through the nose and out through the nose. And always, I like to set the intention to let go of any and all feelings of competition, judgments, or expectations. So always listen to your body, and always honor your body. And stay present. So we'll just start with very simple movements and warming up. We're going to inhale the arms up, and exhale, just let them release down. So all I'm going to ask of you here as far as what you're going to engage is, just because you're seated like this and we're adding some of this movement, just for these warm-ups, just keep your belly in towards your spine, tailbone towards the mat. And that's to support your lower back. So just a couple more, just moving the arms up and down. And then we're going to add some flowing twists. We're going to inhale the arms up, exhale, twist to your right, inhale up, exhale to your left. So let's go about 3 to 4 more times. We'll do one more to the right side and one more to the left side. bring the arms up and exhale down. You'll keep your left hand down, take the right arm, and exhale, stretch over to your left side. Inhale the right arm, exhale it down, and switch. Left arm goes up. Take it over to your right side. Inhale back up, and exhale to release. So we're going to do just a couple more little seated warm-ups. We're going to do a seated cat-cow. So I would definitely recommend, since we're in this position, switch out your legs, settle your hips back down and your sit bones. So seated cat-cow, just like you're doing cat-cows, right? Cow is where you open up the chest. Cat is where you kind of crunch and curl in. So let your hands just rest to your knees, roll your shoulders back. Inhale, bring your chest forward, like you're really exaggerating that. And exhale, curl back. So you're just going to go at your pace. It does not matter how fast or slow you go. So if you've ever done a Kundalini style yoga, they love to do these spinal movements in Kundalini. And if you don't know what Kundalini is a practice that is to align your body, your chakras, and with the energy through your spine. We'll do a couple more. And we're going to come up. And the last little seated warm-up we're going to do is we're going to circle the spine around. So I'm going to start moving to my right. You can do whichever way you want. So you're kind of like circling to your right. And come forward like you're doing a cow. And you're going to exhale, circle back like you're doing cat. And again, you're going to go slow or as fast as you want. As you start moving into this, you can close your eyes and you're just going to let your body move. So you might get your shoulders involved, bringing shoulders forward, like you're coming to your right, your left shoulder goes forward, you're going around to the other side, right shoulder comes forward. You can make big sweeping circles, you can make small circles. So this is where we're going to start to let all this, like, am I aligned, is my belly to my spine, all that, you're going to let it go. You're just going to move. Let's go about 3 more circles in whatever direction you're going. And then you're going to reverse it. And you may find that as you go to the other side, it feels a little bit different. So we always do things habitually. Right? So if you're right-handed, you tend to do things to your right side first. Start to do things initially the other side, the side that you're not dominant on, or non-habitual, feels a little different. So as you can see, as I'm moving through this, my left knee keeps lifting up, and that's because my left hip is sometimes just a little funky, but I'm going with it. If it wants to lift, it's going to lift. I'm not going to force it. And as it warms up, it'll tend to stay down a little bit easier. All right, so we'll do just a few more rotations in this direction. And we're going to come to center. So once you come back up, just take a moment. You should feel very swirly. It's a lot of energy that just moved around. Builds up your heat and builds up that energy. All right, so here we go. So we are going to work a little bit into the hips, and this is where a block may come in handy because it really depends on your hip. So we're going to extend the left leg out at an angle, and the right foot will tuck in. So normally we do this in a yang type practice. The left foot would be extended and flexed, and we would sit tall, we'd come forward and lengthen, but we're letting that go. So let your left leg relax. Let the foot fall where it falls. Now this is where the block can come in handy in 2 ways. If you have a tight hip and it's uncomfortable, place the block underneath. that's all good and you're coming forward and it feels uncomfortable, you'll rest your forearms on the block. So we're going to be in this for a little bit. So you'll take an inhale and then exhale, you're going to come forward without any thought of, oh, I need to engage, I need to push my chest forward. Just drop. Just drop. Let your head relax. So again, you can be resting on forearms on the block. Maybe your arms are forward on the block. Whatever feels natural to you that you can let go. And I think what makes sometimes yin really difficult is it's hard to let go. It's hard to release all these things that we think we need to do and just be. Just be. Just do. Just do whatever you want here. Relax completely into it. Because we're going to be holding this longer, this is where I feel like you may think this is a really easy practice, but it's not, because as we hold those muscles and those ligaments, the fascia, that's going to go deeper into those stretches and you'll start to really feel it. You'll really start to feel it. So when you start to feel like it's getting to be too much, you just shift around. And sometimes it feels good just to go ahead and move and shift around, because it might actually open up some deeper spots that weren't there before. If your mind starts to wander, just bring it back to your breath. Even as simple as saying to yourself, I'm breathing in or I'm breathing out, something that you can keep what we would call a mantra, which is just a word or a phrase that we would repeat over and over, so we stay present in what we're doing. Or you can count your breath. You can count how long it takes you to inhale, count how long it takes you to exhale. So like a restorative practice, we're in this for a little bit longer. Just like you would do restorative, you stay in those postures longer. So to give an example, as I'm holding this, I'm starting to feel this more on my right side of my lower back. And if I shift my body a little bit to the left, I'm going to feel that differently in the right side of my lower back. If I shift more to my right, I don't feel it at all. So I do want to feel that stretch. So I'm going to shift more to my left. Now, you may be feeling it in your left hamstring or your right hip. So you might feel different to come up a little bit and kind of shift and move around and see if that starts to open up a little bit more for you and make this more releasing for you. Because that's what we want. We want complete release. So again, I'll use myself as the example. So that little shifting around, and then I let go. And now the right side of my lower back feels like I'm in a little piece of heaven, because I got it exactly where I needed it to be, that I can release deeper. And that's what you want. You want to be where you need to be to release deeper. So we're going to slowly rise up. We're probably in that for roughly about 2 minutes or so. And take your time, stretch out. Oh, feels good. Switch sides. Again, relax it completely. And begin to come forward. And release. So take your time. Oh, we are doing that. It is important to time these. And as always, you know, one side is going to be different than the other side. So I will feel this differently on this side than I did on my other side. But, you know, make your adjustments. So I'm sorry, I didn't say this before. If you need the block, it's got a left funky hip. The block's going under the left hip. Again, you can use the block forward. If you have two blocks, you'd use them both ways, right? So maybe you've got two. You have one under your knee to rest your hip, and you have the other one to come forward on. Right? So just adapt it. There's no I always say there's no competition. There's no competition. You're not trying to get your nose to the floor. This has nothing to do with getting to point B. This is really all about what's in the journey between sitting up and folding forward. What's going on in between point A and point B. That's the journey. That's what we want to experience. Which goes for any yoga practice, not just a yin practice. Transitions are really important. And being in the posture and experiencing the posture is always very, very important. But especially in yin, being able to just let go and just enjoy the sensation, enjoy the stretch. And you can shift around and move around. And again, I'm going to use myself as an example, and I'm doing this because to some of you may have never done a yin practice. So for me on this side, it's not about my lower back. Not at all. I don't have any issues with the left side of my lower back. But my body has to compensate in ways because, as I've said, I do have a funny left hip sometimes. So I might put a little bit more weight into my right side, or my left knee is bothering me, or my right knee, you know, so the body shifts around and your body compensates. So for me here, I actually feel this more in my right hamstring. So what do I want to do to feel more comfortable in that? I'm going to start to that little bit of movement. And if I come up slightly, I feel it let up. And then if I slowly come back down, and I go deeper into those deeper tissues as they stretch, they respond kindly. Right? They respond to be happy. It's like a happy response because I'm giving it the release it needs. And then I'm going to try and relax again deeper. And my muscles do respond. So you're going to go where you need to go. We'll take just a little bit, a few more breaths here. And again, if your mind is wandering, of course, I chit-chat a lot when I'm teaching yin because it helps you stay present. But if your mind does start to kind of wander and chit-chat about, just focus in on your breathing, count your breath, or just find a mantra. Maybe your mantra is, I'm relaxing, I'm letting go, I'm letting go. Whatever your mantra is, it helps to keep you present. And then I'll slowly come up. Alright, so we're going to take both legs out. And you're going to find the angle, or I should say the width, that feels comfortable. Not the width that you feel like, yeah, I'm going to push it 100%. No, the width that lets you relax and be comfortable. Legs are relaxed, knees can be bent. You can actually use your blocks underneath. If you can be seated up on a pillow or a blanket, or you can use your blocks to support as you come forward. So find your support. Relax into it as you inhale, And then exhale, keep relaxing, and you're gonna come forward. And you might find, as you're coming forward, everybody's a little bit different, but maybe your legs kind of turn in a little bit. Okay, so they turn in. If this were more of a yang, I would say flex your feet, maybe put a bend in your knees, but this is different. Your knees can be pointing in slightly, your knees can be pointing out. It really depends on your hips. But this will get a little bit deeper because both the legs are extended. So use the support of your props in any way you need, and you're just gonna let go. Always finding, shifting your movements, finding that you might need to shift here or there. To come up, come back down. So the other thing to bring up about the difference in like the yin and the yang and how we take a hatha class or a vinyasa class and we're folding forward in this is, in a more hatha or vinyasa, you'd want to lengthen out the lower back, right? You want to bring the chest forward and draw that length so you're not rounding your back. But in yin, absolutely, if it feels like that rounding feels really good to you, round your back. That is totally fine. Yin, you're really letting all those rules out the window. Just let them go. What is rule that stays the same, whether it's a yin, yang, or vinyasa, hatha, is listening to your body. So if you're doing this and you suddenly feel like, oh, that's a really sharp pain. Maybe it's in your lower back. Maybe it's in your hamstring. That's an indication. I am not into this where I need to be. That means I need to come up until I don't have that sharp pain. And then I can readjust and maybe try again to lower down. Sorry, I have an itch on my nose. Stay present. Okay. Your mind starts to wander. Let's say you're doing this on your lunch break and your mind starts to wander. Oh, I have this meeting. Oh, I have this deadline. Oh, I have to do this. Bring it back to you, what you're doing right now. Maybe you're thinking about what you're going to make for dinner. Or if you're doing this, it's not during work time, you're thinking about errands you need to run or what you got to do tomorrow. No, all that can wait. That'll be in your head when the class is over. And those things never go away. But this is your time to just be with yourself and let those thoughts go. Right now, they are not important. So we're going to slowly time, make your way up. Get the blocks out of the way. You're going to bring your legs forward, lean back comfortably, and just wobble your legs back and forth. And if you're kind of seeing your chest down, and your shoulders go up in your ears, just do what feels good. Wobble it out. And just go up and down. And release that. Come on up. Let's get the props, any blocks out of the way. If you're sitting on a blanket, move it out of your way. So we're going to take one posture on our bellies. And we're going to come into Sphinx. So we do Sphinx a lot. Well, I do Sphinx a lot. In my vinyasa classes. But for yin, and when I'm doing the other classes, I talk a lot about drawing the belly up and towards the spine and getting the belly button off the mat a little bit, and that will strengthen, or that will support your lower back a little bit more. And it is more about the engagement of the yang part of the practice. So in yin, as we come into Sphinx, listen to your lower back. That engagement needs to be there because it actually supports your back, because it might. Actually listen to it, but give yourself some time to try it without and just see what happens. So most importantly, well, you're going to start with the elbows right underneath the shoulders. And then this can change. You can take your elbows farther forward or out if that feels more comfortable, and the chest will drop. So the amount of your back bend really depends on how this feels in your lower back. You can also take your legs wide, a little bit like your feet are to the corners of your mat. And we can let the head drop. You can let it do whatever. Let it sit up. So now when I do this in the other types of classes, I would always say, keeping your shoulders away from your ears, so the chest needs to open up, so you're creating this space. But in yin, your head can drop, right? Because you're just going to let it all go. And we want to soften your glutes, right? So taking away that tendency to kind of want to tighten up to engage this more. Let it go. And like I said, if this starts to bother your lower back and you need a bit of that engagement to just kind of get it to settle in, this is a lot on the sacrum. And if you have sacrum issues, this should probably feel pretty good. Lessen your back bend. You would walk your elbows forward a little bit or out. So if you want, while you're in this and relaxing, this is really about your lower back. But you can kind of moving the head around. If your head is dropped, just move it maybe going side to side, keeping the chin slightly tucked, like you're tracing your collarbone with your chin. And that'll feel really good on your neck. There's no right or wrong. I say there's no right or wrong. It's only wrong if it doesn't feel right. So if something feels fine here, whatever you're doing, you are on the right track. If something does not feel right, tune into what that is. What is it that isn't feeling right? What would you need to do? So some of the other things, because this is about the sacrum, is you would kind of shift your hips side to side. That helps. You can also bend the legs and shift or swoosh the legs side to side. And that helps a lot in the sacrum. And then you'll get yourself back into that quiet place that everything can relax. And see if that alleviates what may not feel right in your sacrum. If maybe it's something in your shoulders, right? Because this does put some pressure on the shoulders. That would be where you'd want to go out a little bit. Just take the elbows out. It doesn't mean that the hands need to be in line with them. Just take the elbows out slightly and see if that helps. Or go farther. Go farther forward. And again, I wouldn't say this would be one to really put any engagement in, but it might feel better to straighten the arms, and the arms are forward and they're straight, and you're pushing gently into the palms to see if that helps. But that could also because we're holding this, so that could also put a little bit of strain on the shoulders. So if it does, you let it down. And then maybe readjust. And it might help open up a little bit in your shoulders as well. or take whatever pressure might be there. Yourself present, keep your mind present. Tune into what you're feeling, where you're feeling it. And sometimes we're used to a very fast pace or a faster paced yoga practice, and this can feel a little off-putting because we're used to moving. Now from our Sphinx, we're going to slowly start to come out of this, and we're going to move it into a child's pose. So just like we would do any practice, you'd slide the hands underneath your shoulders, slowly push yourself up, and then just stretch your hips back into your heels and stretch your lower back. Take the arms wherever you would like. If you want them forward, and as always in child's pose, you can take your knees out wide, or you can bring your knees closer in. If your knees are closer in, it's going to make your back round more. If your knees are out wide, it's going to lengthen the lower back. So, what feels better? No right or wrong. For me, I'm going to bring my knees in, and I'm going to take my hands alongside my feet. So I'm going to give my body complete, as much as I can, complete opposite of what it just did in Sphinx. And of course, child's pose is always one that most of us love to be in. So it probably gives you that little piece of heaven, that you're just in a posture that feels familiar and comforting and helps you to release. And just like any of these that we're doing today, you'll change it up as much as you need to, move around, shift around. So, as I said in the beginning, about the only thing really that if we want to do would be a downward facing dog. So, if you want to add a down dog, this would be a perfect place to add that. If you say, no, I am not going to do downward facing dog today, that is beautiful because that is your practice. But if you do want to add it in, go ahead, throw in a down dog. I'm going to go ahead and do it and just get my legs stretched out. And if you are taking your down dog, shift it around. Shift your hips side to side, pedal out the heels. And I'm going to take a couple of rocks a little forward and back, keeping my knees bent. Take another couple breaths here in down dog. So if you're with me, take another couple breaths. And let's go ahead and release, and we're going to come onto our backs. So coming onto our backs, well, this will be a little bit, again, it'll be very yin-like, but you can make it more restorative if you do have the blocks, because we're going to do some hip stuff on our backs, like we would do it a bit like in restorative. So we'll lower down. I can get my shirt adjusted here so I don't have that roll of fabric right in an uncomfortable spot. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead and start with the knees into the chest. Just give it a good little squeeze in. Throw in a happy baby here if you want. And then bring your knees in. So before we actually do anything, I'm going to add a twist. So nice belly twist. The knees will stay in. Take your arms out wide. Let your knees fall to your left side. Turn your head to the right. Just relax. We'll stay in this a little bit longer. Now some options here, since we are going to stay in this twist, is you can use a block in between the legs, which would lessen the pressure of your right hip. You can also have the block underneath your left knee, and so adjust it in some way, and that would prevent the legs from dropping all the way to the floor. Whatever you prefer. You know what? I'm going to add a little something to this. Just add a little bit of movement. And this will be more for the shoulders, which will probably help us to relax more when we get to being just on our backs. So we're going to take the right arm as we inhale. We're going to reach that up towards the ceiling. And then exhale it, let it fall to your left arm. And inhale it back up. And exhale it, let it drop to your legs. Let's take that about 3 more times. Just very slow. You're not in a rush. I lost my count already. So let's go one more time. And then as you drop back out, let's take a couple breaths. Relax again into your twist. And that might have helped your twist move a little bit deeper. And we'll inhale to come up, and we'll exhale to drop to the other side. Lots out over here. And as you drop your knees to the right, and you relax through your left side, again, if you want to use your blocks in any way, go in between the legs or maybe resting underneath the right leg. Just relax. Always notice when we're in these longer holds and being present, we also want to notice where there might be some tension. So if you do feel any tension somewhere, notice where it's at and seeing what you can do to release that tension. So it's not just releasing the muscles, it's releasing tension from the muscles as well. Those really are 2 different things, right? We build tension from stress and the muscles tense up. So we could say, oh, I'm just going to relax my muscles, but you still might feel tense somewhere else, right? So maybe you feel there's some tension that's somewhere within the left shoulder, or there's something, a little bit of tension within the left outer hip or the lower back. And not only are you relaxing your muscles, you're releasing that tension. So think about that too. You're releasing tension. And if you feel it somewhere, what can you do to release it? Let it all go. Sometimes how we visualize something makes a really big difference in how the body reacts to it. So let's add a little bit of that movement. And we're going to bring the left arm up as we inhale, exhale it all right, inhale back up, and exhale it back out. Let's take some more, just move at your pace. This is also good because it will keep the body just a little bit warmer as we're going to be on our backs. It starts to cool down more. And let's go, that's the last one. Let's drop it out. Inhale your knees up and bring your feet to the mat. Okay, so we're going to take a reclining tree. So the left leg is going to extend and the right knee will drop out. So you can take a block, if that feels better to you, and you would place it underneath the right leg in any formation of your block. Most likely I would use this height, but this height or this height, and that will alleviate any issues with your hip if you need to. We're going to completely relax. So we're going to allow the left leg to just do what it wants to do. If your foot splays out, that means that the leg is rotating left out of the hip, then that's what it does. Maybe it goes in a little bit, right? So we're not engaging it in such a way as we would do tree, or even I've done tree on our backs before, where I would have you engage the left leg because I want to keep the alignment. But here, we're going to let it go. So you're letting everything relax. And the arms could be wherever you want them. You can have them overhead. That feels great on your shoulders. You can have them like you would do Shavasana. Maybe let them rest on your belly. As we're on our backs, we want to feel the body just kind of soften, right? We want to feel the belly soften a little bit. Feel the back release. So if you do start to feel some issues on your back here, the block would probably help a lot to lift the right leg up a little bit off the mat, because that can alleviate the lower back issues. So not only is the block helpful to your hip, it could be helpful to your lower back as well. And stay here, close your eyes. Staying present. Don't forget to keep your mind focused on what is going on, or you're focusing on your breathing, or you're focusing on a mantra. And if you, just like we were doing all the seated, if something starts to feel a little wonky, you're going to shift, right? You can come out of this and kind of move it into a twist, and then you can drop it back out. So you can bring your left leg up. Maybe something's weird with your left side. You can kind of move the leg around and then stretch it out again. So we're not stagnant. We want to support the body. We want to help it relax and release. So we're going to bring the right knee up, and you're going to pull it in. Just pull it as close as you can. circle it around. And go ahead, reverse that direction. And then release it. And then now let's switch sides. Left knee comes up, drop the leg out, and making your adjustments on this side as you need. So maybe the block is going to go underneath the left leg, whether you're on the lower part of the block or the higher part, or you can angle it in such a way that you feel supports what you need. Relax your right leg. Just let the leg fall out of the hip in any way that feels natural to you. Don't force it. If you start to feel you're getting a little chilly, deepen your breath, more like an ujjayi breath. So my breath is going deep into the belly. And add that audible exhale. And that does help the body keep warm inside. Remember, shift around as you may need to. And settle back in. Maybe your arms go in a different position on this side, or you just kind of move around a little bit more with arms to release your shoulders. I can definitely feel my toes are getting cold. I should have said, you could do this practice with socks on. So I can feel as I'm relaxing more, and I did that little shift that helped my left hip so it can release. I'm not so focused on where it feels tight. I can actually feel that tightness releasing. I could feel that tension letting go. And it's a really wonderful feeling. The hips especially, we hold a lot of tension and we hold a lot of emotion in our hips. So when we can let them go, really opening up and getting into those deeper tissues, it helps a lot on not just the tension in the muscles that are opening, but it helps the emotion of the body, it helps the mind, it helps us to relax mentally and release the tension emotionally. A couple more minutes. Not so much in this. Just saying a couple more minutes in general. So we're going to go ahead and start to bring the left knee up. And we're going to hug it in nice and close. Really squeeze it towards you. And then let it go, but just start to make the circles. And we're going to let it go. So if you have both of your blocks for the last minute or so, we're going to take a restorative bound angle. And you would take both blocks to either side of your legs as your feet are together and your knees drop out. If you don't have blocks, you can still take reclined bound angle. But we've done a lot on the hips, and there's nothing to support here. So, I mean, if this feels heavenly to you, oh, go for it. But if it feels like it's too much, you don't have the blocks with you, you would go the opposite. You would take your knees together and your feet wide. So you're here without blocks, or you're here with the blocks. And we'll just use this as our Shavasana. So we're doing something that we're supporting the body with the props, or not with props. You need to be together. And if you feel, even if you're doing this for the last 30 seconds, and you just want to take it differently, I'm going to do that. I'm going to bring my knees together and take my feet out wide and let those muscles relax, because now we're not trying so hard to stay open. And it also feels good on your lower back. And you can stay here. If you want to stay in this longer and just enjoy it, it's your practice at home. You do whatever you feel you need to do. If you need to come out of this and you're ready with me, just like we would come out of Shavasana, get your props out of the way, extend your legs, start to wiggle the fingers and the toes. And with a nice invigorating inhale, reach the arms up. And we'll pull the knees in. And I would recommend, because we've been very low-keyed here, that we keep it as low-keyed as possible. But if you want to rock up and down, go for it. But I'm going to do the roll onto the side, and then pushing with my opposite hand to come up. It's a lot less jarring after a very, very slow-paced practice. So when you're ready, you're going to come back into that seat that you started in. Just take a moment as you're ending your practice. And hopefully you're feeling, actually, though this was very slow-paced, it actually feels very energizing at the same time. So close our practice, inhale the arms up. And exhaling, hands to the heart. And I thank you so much for practicing with me. Namaste.